It's the beginning of the end, or so it would seem. Yeah, there's been some major changes over just the last week, hasn't there? And I'm going to take you through some of the ones that affect you from a government support point of view as things were clarified over the weekend. But yeah, there's been a tremendous change just in the last week. Shops have begun to open. IKEA have opened their stores this week. I've heard of queues starting at 5 a.m. in a morning. I mean, Christ alive, it would take wild horses to drag me to IKEA in the first place, never mind at 5 a.m. But people have been waiting for this for some time and they are enthusiastic to get back. Now, if you're a burger fan like me, then you'll be encouraged to learn that McDonald's drive-throughs are all open as well now. In fact, the police were called to one in Glasgow yesterday as the queues got to 2 hours long, and there was a £25 spending cap on individual purchases. I can't think I've ever spent 25 quid on in McDonald's, but yeah, I can't guarantee what will happen when I get back in the place. What else? Yeah, just in terms of retail as well, 32% increase in-store footfall from last week to this week. Lots of retailers opening and creating new social distancing measures with partitions and sanitization stations and that kind of thing. Ilkley has been in the press in the Daily Mail for our neighbouring towns who love to come to the Ilkley Riviera and dine al fresco. Not social distancing, naughty, naughty. And Panama actually have got an interesting way of getting people out of the lockdown. They've got new legislation that allows males and females to go to work but generally out the house to socialise on different days. What they failed to do when they wrote the legislation was to include transsexuals. So they're still housebound for the foreseeable future. I gather that that's been addressed right now. So I haven't spoken to you for quite a long time, have I? About the government supports available, and that's because basically everything's settled down. Nothing changed. Job retention scheme, government grants, self-employment, income support scheme. The rules were settled, and we've just been focusing, to be honest, in the last 3 or 4 weeks on helping clients with the JRS applications and with C bills, and obviously the B bills applications recently. And it's all been much the same for several weeks. However, over the weekend, starting on Friday evening with the Chancellor and with some clarification over the weekend, there's going to be a number of significant changes. And that's why I'm going to give you an update right now. So I'm going to refer to my notes, which are just over here. Let's kick off with the coronavirus job retention scheme. The first thing to mention is this has been a tremendous success. The government delivered the functionality on time when they said they were loyal to the expectations that they shared on how quickly people would get paid out, particularly in the second and third claims that people have been making. I mean, you're getting now the remittance into your bank account within days. Of the 28 million privately employed people in the UK, currently there are 10 million employees with 1 million employers who are making use of the scheme, and it's costing the government 14 billion a month. So it's been a tremendous success, but the Chancellor would say it has to come to an end. And in the middle of last month, they announced that it would be the 31st of October, albeit that they didn't give any detail. And the reason that they did that is because a lot of employers were looking at this cliff edge at the 30th of June and the fact that the JRS scheme came to an end then, and were beginning to plan to make redundancies because they knew that their businesses would not be opening on the 1st of July. So the announcement a few weeks ago, as I say, with no detail, was to head that off at the pass. Now we've had the details just in the last few days, and I'm going to take you through those right now. So first of all, we'll go through it in chronological order as to what the changes are. No, we won't. I'm going to tell you about the flexi furlough that's been introduced. So first of all, up to the 30th of June, nothing changes. It's exactly as it was. And I'm not going to go through the detail because we've done that to death, and you've seen it on 1,000 other other forums. Let me just focus on what the changes are. So from the 1st of July, there's going to be the flexi furlough that's brought in. And I guess this really should have been something that was in right from the very beginning. I know there's a lot of employers who did not furlough their staff because they had to keep their businesses running, and they had their staff still working, albeit on a part-time basis. So the employer suffered by getting no compensation, and the employees suffered as well by having to take a much reduced salary. It's coming in from the 1st of July. However, by a strange twist, if you did not use the old job retention scheme, remember that's the minimum 3 weeks furloughing, before the 30th of June, you are not allowed to use the flexi furlough scheme. Your employees that use flexi furlough must have been furloughed up to the 30th of June. So given that there's a minimum of 3 weeks that you have to furlough your staff, you've got basically about a week to get them on furlough. I think it's next Wednesday. You would have to put them on furlough to get the 3 weeks in place. If you've done that, you can use the flexi furlough scheme. It'll work pretty much on the same basis as before. You'll just got to say what their hours would have been and therefore their pay, and what they actually worked on a part-time basis. That then gives you the furloughed amount. As with the old job retention scheme, you must have an agreement in writing with your employees as well. Speak to your employment law consultant. You know we've recommended LCONs who we use, or get in touch with your existing provider. Okay, let's talk about the grant funding that's going to be applied then. Okay, and I'm going to run in chronological order. So, although that the flexi furlough gets introduced from the 1st of July, the grant compensation that you get is unchanged. It's still 80%. That changes from the 1st of August. So the 1st of August, you'll still get the 80%. However, you will be expected to meet the employer's national insurance contributions and the employer's pension contributions. From the 1st of September, that 80% goes down to 70%, and you'll make up the additional 10 to the minimum 80% furlough. From the 1st of October, that will then go down to 60%, and you will make up 20%. And at the 31st of October, it ends. Now, just remember, of course, that if you voluntarily decided to make your wages up to the full amount, then that's going to run from the 1st of September, you're going to be making 30% additional contribution, and from the 1st of October, you're going to be making 40% contribution. Okay. One thing to mention about the job retention scheme, and I know this is going to aggravate quite a lot of employers, even more than the fact that they recently learned that employees accrue holiday pay whilst enjoying the sunshine in April and May whilst being furloughed. In addition to that, it's just been recently been clarified that employees also have a right to time off in lieu for all of the bank holidays that they've had in recent months. So sorry to have to convey that to you. What you can do, as you know, is you can speak to your employment consultant. You can take some advice, and by agreement, you can get your employees to take their holidays whilst furloughs, but it has to be by agreement. It's not my area of expertise. Get in touch with your employment law consultant to do that, but that would be one way of mitigating the effect of how much time people are going to be having when they come back. Okay, let's briefly talk about the self-employment income support scheme. It's going to be extended for another 3 months. You must have your claims in for the first 3 months by the 13th of July. If you don't claim for the first 3 months, unlike the GRS scheme, you can claim for the second batch of grants, which is another 3 months. Though quite why somebody would claim for the second one and not have claimed for the first one is beyond me. And the only difference on that one that was being announced so far is that it's now at 70% of your average profits, up to £6,570. 70%, £6,570. There's going to be some more guidance, again, like the JRS, that's going to be announced on the 12th of June, and I will update you with that. Right, let's talk about VAT and self-assessment payment deferrals. Okay, so this comes to an end. It's not been extended. So if you've got a May return, you've got a VAT bill to pay on the 7th of July. I guess trying to make an argument that you need a time to pay arrangement for that might be tricky. The government may say, well, where is the sales income for all of the for the trading that you had that's created this VAT liability? Well, I guess that could be down to some of the inept service from Barclays and Lloyds, who have failed to advance you a C-bills or a B-bills loan. That could be a valid reason. I know that a lot of you have taken out B bills, and to be fair, if you didn't get a C bills, all of you should have got a B bills. Anyone with a pulse could get a B bills. It seemed to me. And I know a lot of you have made use of those B bills to basically pay for these deferred VAT and self-assessment payments. Bearing in mind that the VAT is payable on the 31st of March next year, 2021, and just a couple of months earlier, you've got your January self-assessment to pay, which will include your normal January self-assessment, your payments on account for the next year, and the one that you've missed out in July. These bills loans are going to be really good way for you actually spread that out for up to 6 years at 2.5%. If you haven't made a B-bills application, bear in mind those deferred payments that you may have taken advantage of, and have a look at your cash flow. You guys are all connected to Fluidly, and I've got some great news for you in that we are going to give everybody Fluidly Pro at no further cost to you. That's just going to be a point of difference from our service perspective. Get that information into Fluidly and plan properly. Okay, time to pay arrangements are available as usual for pay-as-you-earn and corporation tax, and those are very easily arranged at the moment. Just call 0300 200 3822. 0300 200 3822. Let's talk business rates last of all. Everybody should have had these by now. £10,000 or £25,000 grants. If you haven't got them, you really need to be onto the council. I'm the treasurer of Ilkley Rugby Club, and we actually only just got ours out last Thursday, but I had called several times to get it. I understand from most councils that they've got almost all of them out the door, and there's a few appeals going on now. Make sure you get yours in place. A number of you fell between the cracks, and we identified this before. This is for people that are either in shared workspaces or they pay their rent and their rates in one bill to the landlord, and the landlord picks up the rates bill. You didn't qualify for the grants. I hope that you read my email of advice that I sent out a couple of weeks ago on the discretionary grants. Now, the discretionary grants are for similar amounts, £25,000, £10,000, but there are some individual grants that are for smaller claims than £10,000 that they will give out. They are prioritised directly at people that are in shared working spaces or they have a combined rent and rates bills, along with some charities that have discounted rates bills and didn't qualify. If you don't ask, you won't get. Get in touch with the local council. Just go onto their website, and I sent links out to almost all of the councils that you guys deal with, and you'll find on the landing page they're being quite upfront with the discretionary grants that you can apply for. Get in touch with those. Okay, guys, that pretty much takes us through all of those major changes. As always, if I can help you at all, please get in touch, particularly around anybody that has still not taken advantage of the B bills up to 50,000. Give me a call, send me an email at the office. I look forward to speaking to you, and I hope you're all well and look forward to speaking to you again soon. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.